Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I'm back with part 2 of my 10 Cards 1 kit using the Simon Says Stamp March 2018 card kit. If you haven't seen the first 5 cards, you can check those out on the video that I posted yesterday. So let's get started on card number 6. There you could see I used my MFT Blueprints 32 frame die to trim out this panel from this white wood background paper. And I've attached that to the front of the pink card base using my ATG gun. Then I had some leftover magnolia vine wire that I picked up at Target this past Christmas. I've used about 20 inches of that and just wrapped it around my fingers to create a wreath. Next I'm going to attach that, and I found that glue dots are the best way to attach this type of material to a card base, so I'm just using the same tool that I use to remove the insides of die cuts when I need to, and I'll move that from the roll of glue dots onto the back of the wreath. Then I'm going to press that down nice and firmly to make sure I get a nice secure stick. Next, I've got this sticker that says Live Life in Full Bloom, and I'm going to place that on the center of the wreath. Then for the inside of the card, I'm using one of the cut-aparts. This says Plant Smiles, Grow Laughter, Harvest Love, and I'll use my ATG gun to attach that. Finally, I have this potted flower that I'm going to place off to the side there. And that will complete card number 6. So for card number 7, I'm just going to use one stripe of that tag paper, and then I've got a piece of this gingham paper that I'm going to attach along the top of that. I'm going to again run that through my Big Shot using my Blueprints 32 frame die. And then I have a bunch of sentiments that I've pulled from the cut-aparts, and behind the smaller ones I've used 1/8 inch score tape, and along the larger one I'm using 1/2 inch score tape. I'm going to use my ATG gun and attach the panel to the top of my card base. And then I also trimmed apart one of those tags, and behind that I've placed some Scotch foam tape just to give a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to play around with my layout a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and attach down, I want to have the tag on top of that sentiment slightly, so I'm going to attach that down first, and then I'll place the tag on top of that far corner. There's just a little bit of flower sticking out there that I wanted to cover. Finally, I'm going to use these smaller sentiments, which I just thought was so pretty. It says the smallest step in the right direction can turn out to be the biggest step of your life. And that second one was just slightly too long, so I ended up trimming off the step of your life and just attaching that below. For the inside of the card, I'm going to stamp directly on the card base, and I went with the Bloom Where You're Planted. And then there's a matching strip of that wood and sentiment paper, and this says make room for what matters, breathe deeply, learn something new, choose simplicity, and keep growing. So I've again used some score tape behind that. This is 1/8 of an inch wide, and I'm just going to place that along the bottom of the card base. And then I'll trim off that extra there. And that will complete card number 7. For card number 8, I'm going to create a background panel, just adding this scrap wooden piece of paper to the green background. And then I'll again run that through with my Blueprints 32 frame die. I'll go ahead and use my ATG gun to attach that to the top of my card base. And then I'm also going to use this strip of black and white gingham, and that was part of one of the papers in the kit. It was all the different stripes that you could cut apart. So I've again attached that using my ATG gun. I'm just going to trim off the excess there. And then I wanted to use this watering can, but I wanted to place that flower inside it. So I'm going to use my Fiskars craft knife just to go along the shadow portion of the watering can there. And then I'll peel that off of the backing as well as the flower and just slide that stem down inside the watering can. And I wanted to give that a little bit of dimension, so next I'm going to pop that up using some Scotch foam tape. So I'm going to place that down just slightly off to the side there, and then I'm trying to find a place to put this sentiment. This was another one of the cut aparts, and it says, "You belong among the wildflowers." And I kept humming that Tom Petty song in my head the entire time I was making this card. But I decided to put it on the same side as the watering can, just up above, and I attached that with my ATG gun. For the inside of the card, I'm going to go with the sentiment, "You bring sunshine to a gloomy day," and I'm stamping that using Lawn Fawn Peachy Keen ink. This is on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4. And then I've got this crate sticker that I'm going to place along the bottom. And I'll go ahead and also add the shovel to that. I'll use my ATG gun and attach that on the inside of the card base. And that will complete card number 8. For card number 9, I'm using one of the card bases made from the Neenah Desert Storm, but I wanted to have a green background around my pattern paper. So I've trimmed out a panel to match the entire top of the card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to place that down using my ATG gun. Then I've got this panel with this beautiful floral on it, and I've just used my regular Fiskars trimmer to trim that out to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to place that on top of the green. Next, I have a 1/2 inch stripe of this wood panel. So I'm going to use my ATG gun and I'll attach that towards the bottom of the panel. I'll go ahead and trim off that excess. And I'm using that because I wanted something to sort of help ground that sentiment so it wasn't just sort of floating there in the white portion of the card. So next I'll peel off that hello. And then I'll add that to the card front. For the inside of the card, I'm going to use one of the cut aparts. It says, "Of all the things my eyes have seen, the best by far is you," which I thought was just beautiful. And the script matched that hello perfectly. So here I've got some more scraps of the wood grain paper and I've trimmed those to 1/4 inch. I'm just using my ATG gun and I'm going to attach those and make a border all the way around that. Then I'm going to go ahead and add this little bouquet of flowers in the corner. And I'll attach that on the inside using my ATG gun. And that will complete card number 9. So for card number 10, I'm going to use the front and back of this pretty floral paper. So I've just trimmed off a portion from the bottom there, and I'm going to attach that using some AdTech removable tape. The reason I'm doing that is I want to run everything through the die cut together, but I'm going to pop up that black and white stripe with some foam tape, and I just want to make sure I have the perfect fit once I place it back on top. So I'm going to run that through using my MFT Blueprints 32 frame die. And then I'm going to carefully peel that up. And if you do try this, you want to make sure that you're slow and steady because that adhesive, when you run it through the die cutting machine, it really does press that into the paper. So you could tear it even though it is technically removable tape. So I'm going to add 3 stripes of the Scotch foam tape behind that. And then I wanted to use this tag. I thought the sentiment was really pretty. It says happiness blooms from within. And I wanted to give that a little bit more of a pop. So I'm just going to place that on some of the green cardstock, and then I'll fussy cut that out, leaving just a thin green border all the way around it. Now the sticker actually had holes punched in it, but of course the cardstock I placed it on did not. So here I'm using my Crop-A-Dile. I'm just going to poke some holes on either end. And then I decided I did want to add some eyelets, so I picked a brushed silver color, and I'm just going to set those in place. Then I wanted to attach that with some twine, and this is the same twine that I was using in the previous video. I've cut that into 4 equal lengths, and I'm going to take 2 and loop those through either end of the tag. And what I'm going to do here is actually wrap that around the side of the black and white striped paper, so it'll look like it's attached, but it's actually done in 2 pieces. Here I'll peel away the backing from just that centerpiece of the foam tape, and I'm just going to take those strands and I'll wrap them around the edges, and then that way they'll stick to the foam tape. I did then go ahead and add a little bit of ATG on the back of those to make sure that the strands were nice and secure. I'm going to next go ahead and attach the floral panel to the top of this green card base. And then I will peel away the backing from the other foam tape, and I'll place that strip across the top of the card panel. For the inside of the card, I'm again using a Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'm going to stamp out that sentiment, bloom where you're planted, using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I lost a little footage here. I did add a sticker bouquet underneath that, and this will complete card number 10. Here is a quick look back at the cards we created today. You'll find additional photos as well as a full list of supplies at my blog post, linked in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.